It's been a month since the US carried out a strike against alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific. But did Operation Southern Spear have any impact, or is the cocaine traffic still very vibrant in the United States? Well, we have definitive answers with data and receipts. So I bring you Anna.
Yes, well, the DEA has provided some commentary on this matter. And before we get to what the results really were, let's just talk about what the United States carried out and how many people died as a result. So for the past 11 months, Operation Southern Spear targeted narco terrorists allegedly trying to traffic cocaine to the United States. Now, this campaign began September of 2025, and we struck 67 vessels, destroying them, and at least 221 people have been killed. And you'll be shocked to find that killing these men, most of whom were very likely just fishermen, did nothing to stem the flow of cocaine coming into the United States. It had no impact at all. And in fact, when you get into the details, you'll realize how outrageous this whole situation really is. So look, according to a report from the Washington Post, they did this investigative exclusive report, and here's what they found. DEA analysts found the strikes had failed to affect the supply or price of cocaine in the United States and had led traffickers to diversify beyond go-fast boats and to avoid international waters, opting instead for larger boats and hemming close to coastlines where US forces are less likely to open fire. Traffickers are also relying on aircraft, which has been the case for a while now, which take off from clandestine airstrips along the Colombian-Venezuelan border and head east to Guyana and Suriname to basically avoid US forces, and that's according to what the DEA put out in their assessment. So in a closed-door meeting with Pentagon officials and lawmakers last month, it was actually revealed that these strikes didn't even have an effect on the purity of cocaine. Because think about it, if these strikes were actually effective, if they were actually hitting drug traffickers, which by the way, you don't just slaughter suspected drug traffickers, okay? Like that's not what we do. It's not what you should do. It's wrong to just kill people without any due process whatsoever. But what they noticed was, yeah, this cocaine, this cocaína, it's still real pure, which means that our operations haven't really limited the supply of cocaine coming into the United States. So that's not good news, that's pretty bad news. And smugglers have adapted to the intensified pressure. Price and availability have not been noticeably affected, according to the DEA analyst report. But the Trump administration also claimed that they were attacking these boats for fentanyl, even though there was overwhelming evidence that fentanyl wasn't coming in from Venezuela. We all know where the fentanyl is coming from. The active ingredient for fentanyl comes from China, and then it is processed in Mexico and smuggled across the border. That's where fentanyl comes from. However, based on what they found in this DEA report was based on pricing.
You know your brain rot index? No, of course you don't. I didn't either because I didn't know what it was, but turns out you might want to, especially after hearing this. Did you know that the average American checks their phone over 200 times a day? That's about 5 hours of screen time a day on just your phone. Unfortunately, that means your brain is rotting. A little bit, but have no fear. I switched over to Noble Mobile, downloaded their Noble Mobile Life app, and was able to track my own brain rot index. It's 0. No, I'm just kidding. My number was not great, but now that I'm on Noble Mobile, getting way better. It tracks how much you use your phone, how often you pick it up, and even shows you how to save money on your phone bill by using it less. New members can even earn up to $100 cash back for keeping their brain rot index under 100, which means you are very unrot. Okay, so you unlock all that when you join. So download the Noble Mobile Life app today, track your own brain rot index, and learn how you can save money and spend more time doing things that actually bring you joy instead of doom scrolling on social media. Check it out by heading to tyt.com/switch or by downloading the Noble Mobile app. By the way, don't tell Andrew, but if you're on Wi-Fi, you also don't use your data, so you're gonna get money back anyway. tyt.com/switch.
There might in fact, now be more cocaine circulating in the United States. In Florida, cocaine is selling for $13,000 to $15,000 per kilogram, a senior DEA official said, a drop of roughly 50% over the last 5 years. So it's actually become cheaper, meaning more cocaine is flooding into the country. And when it comes to fentanyl deaths, well, that was a real focus, but apparently they moved off of fentanyl after they realized that, oh yeah, it doesn't really make sense to claim that fentanyl is coming from Venezuela when it's not. But fentanyl should have been the focus of trying to end drug trafficking into the country, because cocaine was responsible for 20,000 overdose deaths last year in 2025. Fentanyl killed more than 38,000 people. Meanwhile, the strikes have made investigating drug trafficking a lot more challenging, according to the DEA. Investigators typically rely on low-level informants to provide intelligence on routes and meeting points to build cases against higher-ranking managers and bosses. Now those sources are being pulled back from the field, the current official said, to protect them from being killed in US attacks. And this is a story that was also covered by Drop Site News, and they wanted to delve a little deeper into the 221 people who were killed and what the administration is doing about the fact that they very likely killed innocent people. We'll get to that in just a minute, but I want to pause for comment from
So look, there's one piece here that you should know that gives a lot of this analysis a lot of credibility. So the DA found that once they started doing the strikes, in the first 2 months, actually the supply did go down and the price did go up, okay? But the drug traffickers immediately figured out different routes, and then as they're tracking this throughout, then the DEA sees, in the end, it didn't work at all. As Anna pointed out, the supply, and we know that through seizures that we do, is not only back to where it was, but past where it was. We'll give you some data on that in a second. And then the prices, again, back to where it was, but actually lower than it was. So that means there's a higher supply than before. And the purity is still totally fine. So it's the same DEA analysts that in the beginning were like, hey, it's working. Then they're like, shwang, wang, wang, it's not working. And my whole life, I've heard this nonsense about, oh, we're gonna get the supply and we're gonna end the supply. And we haven't ended it in 40, 50, 60 years, because that's not the way to deal with this problem. You really, I mean, come on, are we still having this conversation? Who's so uneducated on this issue that they don't know you can't stop the supply? It never works. We've done huge attacks. Colombia's government, Mexico's government, etc., has done huge attacks against the drug cartels. And for a minute, oh my God, we seized all these drugs, we burned all these drugs, we killed all these cartel leaders. And by the way, in this round, we kidnapped Nicolas Maduro, we hit the ships, we killed one of the largest cartel leaders in the world. And no result, nothing, right? It's never going to work. And the point isn't to actually get to win the drug war or to end the deaths in America from overdoses. The point is militarism. The point is authoritarianism.
Yes, that was the real point of these strikes. It wasn't really about doing something about drug trafficking. If the Trump administration, or quite frankly, any administration, were actually serious about doing something about the overdose epidemic in the country, then you have to really consider why so many people are dying, deaths of despair. That's really what drug overdose deaths are. I mean, in some cases, because of the flood of fentanyl into the country, fentanyl was being cut into other street drugs, and unfortunately, people ended up overdosing on fentanyl, not knowing that they were taking fentanyl by using other drugs, and that's been absolutely devastating. But there is such high demand for these illegal drugs in the United States because people are looking to escape. So you, as the president of the United States, should ask yourself, why are people in the country that I lead so deeply miserable that they are risking overdose deaths in order to numb themselves from reality? That's what's really going on here. Because the cartels and the drug traffickers, they will find a way to get that, to get the substance into the country. They're making a ton of money off of it. And I think what was really great about how honest that DEA report was that they were clear about that. They're gonna find a workaround. They're gonna find a way to get the drugs into the country, and they have been.
Yeah. So look, I said authoritarianism on top of militarism. Why that? Because now they're not drug dealers anymore, they're narco terrorists. And now Stephen Miller and others in the Trump administration are saying, you know what? Now some activists in the left wing are also terrorists. They're domestic terrorists.
Right.
So we're expanding the definition of terrorism so that any crime, but also maybe any protest is now terrorism, so that the central government has even more power. Now, there's a great irony here because the right wing is theoretically and sometimes in reality worried about big government power. Right?
We certainly already have big government power.
And what this does is says, no. Even though this is totally useless and has never worked, no matter what Democratic or Republican president, no, we need to give the government more power to do more deadly strikes without any judicial review, without any other review, and call everyone a terrorist because big government is the answer. So this is how you get, led into authoritarian military rule.
That being said, I don't want anyone to mistake the way we're talking about this for us providing cover for actual drug traffickers who are trafficking drugs within the borders of the United States. I think those people should be prosecuted. I think people who are addicted need help. They should not be criminalized. I think that they should be helped. But you got someone trafficking large volumes of fentanyl or any, illegal substance that's getting our people killed, they should be prosecuted.
But to me, that's of course.
I know it's of course to you, but a lot of them weren't being prosecuted, and that was a problem.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Okay,
yes.
but so look, that to me has more to do with justice than ending the war on drugs, right?
Agreed.
You know that fentanyl can kill people. You sell it to local kids or local people. No, that's an issue of justice for the victims and the victims' families, right? So that's why we prosecute in those cases. But in terms of winning the war on drugs, that's not going to do it either. We have to attack it from the demand end. There's no other way to win that war.
Totally agree.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.